All right. I had no idea it was. I went outside to ground and I looked at my phone and it was 1:30 already. So I have no idea where a half hour went. Yeah.
That
So
sounds about right.
yeah. So time is, and it's odd for me because time seems like it's going so fast. But then when I look back like just a week or two, it seems like a month or two.
Hmm.
So the past seems to be further and further away, but the present seems to just fly by.
Oh gosh, it's a strange time.
It,
Um,
yeah.
in looking at the planetary part of it, it's all over the place. There's a lot going on. It's it's a bit of a challenge to formulate a message to you all that is as positive as possible because this is an enormously challenging time, the likes of which we've not seen for several hundred years. So to have this come at the same time, the full moon and all that, oh gosh, discord is popped up again. Oh, yeah. Welcome back, blah, blah, blah. No.
No, it's not
But
time for
see,
that.
that's what this is like right now.
Yeah.
When you're trying to address one thing and find a mindful way to go about it, something else pops up to interrupt and say, well, we're here to do so and so. Well, just a minute. I'm over here doing this. And you've got to pick your arguments and your fights and so forth. Now, it's not to say that stuff isn't going to come up, it will. There are a lot of combative energies. And as you mentioned, this is all the moon is happening in Scorpio.
You're right.
And that means it's not
Yeah.
a combative sign as such, but it's very highly, intensely triggered by emotional issues.
Hmm.
Okay.
Right.
And that means anything that's intensely emotional, intense, period, but especially emotional issues. And um, the good stuff, as I had promised, was that Jupiter, bless its fluffy little heart, is is in its own house. It's not in its own sign. It's in the sign of Gemini, but that's not a bad thing. And it's trying valiantly to still bring all the nicer, more positive things to the forefront. The sun is in the eighth house. So that is to say that it's very much more of a challenge because that's the house. People are used to saying, "Oh, that's the house of sex," or it's the house of other people's money. Well, excuse me, not other people's money. That's the well, yeah, it's other people's money. It's the issues coming up, the challenges that you face. First of all, Jupiter's trying to say, "Here, have some money, have some good stuff, have some fun, have some whatever nice." But that sun happening in the eighth is saying, but you've got to first be careful that you don't overspend when you go to have your fun. And you can't say, oh, look at that gorgeous sofa. Now I can get it. Well, this is not the time to do that because your emotions over there in the second with the moon are saying, oh, do something really expensive and blah. No, you've got to keep your head. And so I'm admonishing everyone to enjoy the moment if you can create one worth enjoying right now and it comes up like that. Do go with it, but watch yourself. Don't
Hmm.
lose your head because this time has a lot of other issues happening just the whole time that it's all happening in. Irrespective of it being new moon, full moon, whatever, the planet is going through an extreme upheaval. The energies are about some other things. We've got a lot of cycles coming to an end and others beginning, but they're on a massive historical scale. We talked about how we've all chosen to be here at this time for blah 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 and so forth. Well, we asked for it. We've got it. Now we're smack in the center of some very big changes, and they're not going away in a minute. Some of them are going to last almost 20 years.
Hmm.
We're in a period. We've started a period where some very massive changes are going to come about. So at the moment, I've been holding my breath, so to speak, kind of just waiting to hear the other shoe drop, as they say. Um, I'm scared to tell you what to expect because it has a volatile enough nature that it's changing on a dime. Okay. Um, the sun went into Taurus and the uh, Mercury is about to go in there too. Well, that just means that your mind is going to be on all that stuff going on in Taurus. And Taurus is all about what you value. It's about money. And especially since it's happening in the other people's money's house. So we've got this thing about your own money and valuables versus other people's money and valuables all being called upon at the moment. You're going to have to think on both sides. Whatever you're trying to do to make your situation look great, you've got to understand that there are some people pulling to do the same thing on their own part. So whoever you're in business with, whatever partners you have, whether that's a home partner or a business partner, etc., um, mainly the issues about what you do with what you value are going to be very much in the forefront. So this is it's a ticklish time. Uranus, of course, brings about all kinds of very unusual both problems and solutions. It's just about what's abruptly changing. We're all trying to be resourceful when it comes to money and financial dealings and stuff, but there's a tendency to kind of take some risks right now. So kind of rein that in. And we're all of us, when stuff comes up that's risky, we don't want to change. We don't want to do things different. But you don't want to resist the change because that stuff builds up and it causes a lot of stress.
Hmm.
Um, the fact that Uranus and the Sun are both in that house, the marriage and partnership, eighth house, that automatically brings a whole lot of financial things and sudden losses and sudden gains. Thank you, Jupiter. But you have to, right now, the best I can say to you is expect the unexpected in relation to how other people handle their money. You can experience problems with your loans, your taxes, your inheritances, things that involve money, um, but especially when others are in a part of the picture, the person who's either giving you the money or trying to take it back or whatever. But this is stuff that may seem at first to be out of your control, but this is all about being wary, being mindful. You're your own person, and certainly with Uranus right next to the sun, it's all about marching to the beat of your own drum, and you have original way of looking at things, and you delight in being different and unique. But that also means that you are very, shall we say, strong-willed.
Hmm.
You're willing to go to a lot of lengths to get your own way and to have things go the way you want. Nothing wrong with that if you're very careful about what those ways you're willing to go to are. Are you being aware of the other people in the equation? This is a time when the urge to be truly individualistic and strongly self-reliant and so forth, rebelling against restrictions to your freedom and all that. All this stuff comes up right now. So don't be shocked when it does, because it is. It's going to be about that and a whole bunch of other things similarly. Okay? So You and I were talking about how do we do this in a positive light? You just have to smile and keep walking, like I said. But
Yeah.
now you got to think about some stuff this time. As we're walking and trying to be single minded, you do have to stop and think about how what you're doing is going to affect the others in your life. Because right now, how you see that is going to come to the forefront. You know, we're here together and we're all holding each other up, and we'll keep doing that.
Hmm. Hmm.
But yes, this is an extremely challenging time. And depending on how you set your life up, the particular challenges you accepted to go through, um, that's going to speak to how intense it really gets. Like I said, I'm holding my breath and just looking up and keep walking and
Hmm.
um, all kinds of challenges. I know that some time ago you and I spoke, Kate, about some issues I have where um, I have some problems where things pop up on the computer. There's a fad now with the advertisers. They've discovered the psychology of shock. Extreme shock is even more, um, it takes your attention and causes it to be honed in. So, because they've discovered that, it's become a fad to throw some really disgusting pictures on the screen. I mean, we're talking real bad, very, very disgusting. The kind of thing that causes you to be revulsed immediately. Um, Now, people will say, oh, well, just ignore that. Well, the trick is there are some folk and some personality types. There are certain personality disorders that get very drastically triggered by horrible images.
Hmm.
And the advertisers don't care. They don't give a you know what about that. So this stuff comes up, and you can innocently click on a link where it says, oh, we're going to show you Mary so and so's recipe. Or what did Kim Kardashian do when she saw blah, 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 whatever. So you click on it thinking you're going to see that. But before you do, or they're doing it before now, but it used to be that as you read the article and you get to the bottom of it, all those other ads that they say, well, now you can click on this and now you can, they would have these images in there. So you had
Hmm.
no choice. You had no idea you were going to see it. You get to the bottom of the article and there's this thing that pops up. Um, I don't know what anybody can do about it, but I had it happen to me yesterday. And you know how you get the reels that show you all kinds of things, different sites, and these are places you've agreed to see. And I had joined a website, a page to hear from them that was supposedly about art. And when I got up and flipped my computer on yesterday, they had the mother of all the ugly images. See, you and I have talked about it, and it's been bad, but this is the worst I've ever seen. And even talking about it now, my stomach's in knots
Hmm.
because I can remember what I saw.
Yeah.
And it has taken me the whole, and actually, it wasn't yesterday, it was the day before, because I reported it and so forth.
Mm.
And I mean, there's just no excuse. There's no way this should have been on anybody's screen. And Facebook stood up for them and said, well, it doesn't violate any of our community standards. I beg your pardon? What? So I don't, for 1 minute, understand what their reasoning was and why they would think it was all right. But then there are so many right now that have that very description. There are horrible things happening where they're going a little long because none of us were expecting that it was even possible
Hmm.
for these things to happen in our time and in our country and so forth. And, in the news now are things that just take your breath away.
Hmm.
So that's what this was, big time. And I say that because the events right now are kind of that type. There are things there that are going to trigger
Hmm.
you. It took me 2 days of very intense meditation and real shadow work to try and get it down low enough where I could even get through the day because it would not go away from my head and
Mm-hmm.
it made me sick. Um, but that is just a symbol of what else is going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a reminder to be on the lookout for that kind of emotional assault. Okay? When we talk about where the moon is and it's in Scorpio and it's intense, it's all about really intense emotional stuff. Yeah, that was just a reminder of exactly what the vibe is. So I admonish all of you because, see, some people have done a lot more shadow work than others, and
Mm-hmm.
some people are more interested in doing it than others. It's perfectly all right to go through your whole life just dealing with whatever your life brings and not have to be all dedicated to trying to be the best in the woo woo world or the new age world, or I want to be a warrior for the other side. You don't have to do that. You might decide I'm going to be a soccer mom and that's how I live my life. Great. Whatever challenges you programmed are going to come up within that environment. That's fine. But some of us program some other more challenging things or challenging in a different way, and we're wide open susceptible for some of the more unique challenges that come along. We've opted in. We've said, oh, I can handle it. I'm going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So the way that this kind of thing hits you can be extremely different. Now, what it's done is make me much more aware and much more sympathetic now to people who have certain types of mental challenge. I don't say mental illness, it's challenges of that soul that they've set up in this life to go through, and they're looking at a certain way. I wish I had a dollar for everybody who's been locked up in a mental institution who was perfectly fine. They were just different. They
Right.
had chosen to look at things differently, and that wasn't all right. Oh, we'll lock you up. You're dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
That particular syndrome presents itself in different ways. And in the now, we have a little less of that. Well, we did have, but now we have certain things happening that mirror that exactly. So people have chosen over time to come here and deal with certain kinds of challenges. And the way it's presented goes with whatever time you're in, you know. So, folks, what can I say? We're here. We're trying to all stick together and go through this stuff at the
Mm-hmm.
same time. You you're there for me when I'm saying, "Oh my God," and you're like, "Look, I'm here to help. I want to find a way to be supportive and blah blah blah," and that means everything. You have put this together to try and offer those things to the other people in your life,
Mm-hmm.
those you come in contact with. You have a vision. You have a um, an edict. You have a goal to
Mm-hmm.
accomplish. I'm just a hanger on. I've been through that stage of life where I wanted to help, and I was going to do this, and I'm studying this so I can help it. At the moment, I'm studying it to save my own butt. I just want to get through this stage of life.
Yeah.
It's not for kids. No wonder old age comes at the end. You need all of your life experience by that time to help you get through it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
you know. So that's kind of what my wrap on this is. There's a lot of stuff I haven't covered yet, but it's all about how much do you actually want to know? What people want to know is, well, what do I do? I don't want to hear how it happened and blah, blah. The thing is, keep your eyes open, keep your hands empty of weapons, because you might raise your hand in excitement and cut somebody's head off with that sword in your hand. You thought you were arming yourself against the future, and you accidentally went, "What?" to hear what somebody said, and you wiped out a whole room. So it's it's that kind of vibe.
All right. Well, I kept
Okay.
getting this morning was, treat others the way you want to be treated.
Exactly.
But how many of us don't love ourselves? How many of us
Exactly.
don't do that? So the self-love stuff has to come first.
Yeah.
Because if you, I don't know, have guilt about yourself or you're not happy with yourself, then you're going to treat other people with that same unhappiness or that same guilt, or you're going to put judgments on people because you're judging yourself so harshly. And I never actually thought about it in those terms. It's like treat others the way you want to be treated, but no, treat others the way you treat yourself. So
Yeah.
a lot of this is self-love, self-love
Treat
and
them the
that
way
could
you think you're treating yourself.
well and it can be so many different ways. It could be, Reiki sessions. It could be treating yourself to a massage. It could be just what I did. I went outside to ground myself so that I was ready for this. I almost missed it.
Uh-huh.
So is that telling you that I really need to ground more? I really need to be outside? um, you know, and listen to your body and do what your body is telling you. If you get that anxiety feeling in the pit of your stomach, stop whatever you're doing and don't do that anymore. That's telling you this is making you out of balance, basically.
When you find out that something has made you feel like that,
Mm-hmm.
you have to make sure that it's all right for you to stop midstream and say, wait a minute, I need a moment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. There are lots of things that were going on that I needed to attend to, but when stuff happened that was going to derail me so terribly, it's like getting hit in the solar plexus. And I had to admit that I felt that way.
Mm-hmm.
I had to say, you know, I need to stop for a minute. But you need to, I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
The dishes had to wait. The floor
Right.
has to wait. The
Yes.
whatever has to wait a moment.
Yeah.
And just before we started, I realized when I got up earlier that I was out of it. I woke up and I suddenly felt extremely weak. It was very much a surprise to me, but I had no energy at all. I was panting, literally. I came and I
Wow.
sat here and I tried to chill out and so gotta make coffee and I got, but I literally was panting for breath because I felt so
Mm.
like that. And so I had to take the hint and literally lay back and take a nap.
Mm-hmm.
And
Good.
I set the alarm on my cell phone and I said, okay, if nothing else, you've got to take an hour.
Yeah.
Give yourself an hour. And
Mm-hmm.
when I woke up from it, I still felt kind of dodgy, but I said, I do feel a little bit better. Let me go in now and go in and get the cup of coffee and kind of get my act together. And in increments, every 3 or 4 minutes, I felt just a little brighter and
Mm-hmm.
just a little brighter. And by
Nice.
the time I could go in and get all cleaned up and, do hair and makeup and stuff, I was starting to feel better. So by the time I came back and saw you, on here, I'm like, okay, I'm here, I'm ready. But you have no idea what it took to
Hmm.
get to that point. The main thing was, though, I had to admit I was
Yeah.
in trouble.
Right.
And it didn't matter what anybody else thought or needed.
Right. Right.
I'm in trouble. I got to do something right now.
And we all need to do that, whether
Yeah.
it's that just stop and take a breath, but you need to stop and take care of yourself because if you don't take care of yourself, then you can't take care of anyone else. So had
Hmm.
Nikki not listened to herself, she probably wouldn't be here right now.
I
She
would have missed
probably
it.
would be sleeping or
There's no way I could have done it because I was just really,
hmm
I was out of it. And it was kind of alarming at first. And I understood that it was not from something I'd done. The energy coming in had sapped everything out of me.
hmm hmm
See, because we're talking lightly about Scorpio. The moon's in Scorpio. And it's right across from the eighth house. Well, I'm a Scorpio.
hmm
And I have some dire planets in the eighth house, some real heavies. So with this coming up now, it's hitting every defense I had. And the fact that we're having all this heavy Pluto energy, that's the ruler of my whole chart, my whole existence in life here. Is
Now,
this heavy Scorpio stuff. And Pluto
is
rules it.
is Pluto disruptive or is Pluto's a bully, right?
Big effing time.
Both bully and disruptive. Okay.
Yeah. It
And Pluto
causes it
is going to be
causes
with us for
transformations.
how long is Pluto going to be with us?
20 years.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
You've heard me hinting about something that's going to be in place for a long time.
And that's the one.
Get ready.
Yeah.
Because Pluto is the ruler of the underworld.
Okay.
He lives to find ways to turn your world upside down through transformation. Now, we're saying he's a bully because he brings these transformations seemingly out of nowhere. Bop! Surprise! But is that bad?
That's what I was just thinking. I mean, since we met the last time on here live, the Catholic Pope died, and we now have a new one, all
Yeah.
in a 2 week span.
Mm-hmm. And
That's
it's
kind
the
of
first time
unheard
it's
of.
ever been an American.
And yeah, yeah,
Okay, there's a lot in that.
yeah. There is a lot in that, and
And
what
I,
do we know about him, and there is a lot everywhere, and the
well,
changes the world is going through.
one thing for people to chew on, it has come out that there were some enormous efforts made to influence the conclave that it should be an American.
That makes me very sad.
Yes,
Hmm.
but it did happen. So that's all I have to say about that. It wasn't taken seriously.
But it was
But
attempted.
how breathtaking is it that anyone tried?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, I have a
So,
question for you. When we talk about these long periods of um, periods ending and then a new period starting. So in 2012 was the end of the Mayan calendar. Now, I know that there was like a 20-year window front and back that we're preparing towards that. Well, I think in 2 more years, that 20-year window is over, and we are now in the new cycle, clearly in the new cycle. Am I like reading that right?
I think you are. I don't know. It's
Okay.
something, the whole issue about the Mayan calendar centers around what people think it was for.
We should ask
What
the new
was it?
pope.
Huh?
We should
Well,
ask the new pope. I'm sorry. I couldn't
it's a
help
whole,
myself.
it's a whole other discussion
Ah,
when you get into what were they doing, why did they leave it, what were they doing with it, what do they want us to get from it, et cetera, et cetera. So I can't address it because I don't know enough. I've been studying it for 20 some years,
me
but
too. But does it follow right along with that age of Aquarius coming in as well? Like it's
totally
all,
different system.
it is. Okay.
You see, we can't mix. Like I watched a very interesting tour through the Egyptian Museum yesterday.
Mm.
Robert Edward Grant took he has a lot of privilege and gets to see stuff before anybody else. So they brought him in and, showed him
When
around.
I was in Egypt, I never got to see it. It was closed.
Well, he had a very personal tour,
Okay.
and they said it's not open for another month or so.
Mm.
And even when it's open to educators and stuff, it will still be another 2 weeks before it's open to the public and whatnot. But because of the regard they have for him and all this stuff he's discovered about their pharaohs and tombs and stuff. And they had a very special historian, specialist in Egyptology, take him around from one exhibit to the other and explain who all of these people were. And it
Hmm.
was mind boggling. It was
Wow.
amazing and joyous to see.
Mm.
But when you start to study, because this was my favorite area of study, was Egyptology and magic. When you get into studying that, it's a very interesting system and it's very powerful. However, if you come out of that and you then study the Rosicrucian, it's the same stuff. If you then study Brotherhood of Light, with uh, Elbert, Benjamin Elbert or whatever, he calls himself C.C. Zane. The books
Mm,
he wrote were
okay.
under the word Zane, but Anyway, that's a different system still. It may have started out as the Golden Dawn, but it quickly morphed into something different that was a new thing that Zane wanted to present. You
Hmm.
can go back and talk about Madame Blavatsky and all that she brought in, her and Sir Conan Doyle, and he's the guy who wrote Sherlock Holmes and all that. But he was the very anchor of the New Age movement at that time, and they were all meeting at his castle and talking
Hmm.
about it, doing table tipping and all kinds of stuff. But when you study it, you have to stay within the guide rails of that particular way of thinking. Look at
Okay.
what they're saying, evaluate it on that basis. We can't come out and talk about the new way we approach magic and apply that to that. We can
Hmm.
see that they're all talking about the same thing. It's like when you look at Bashar and Seth, they couldn't be more alike in what they're saying, but
Hmm.
they couldn't have come from two very different places,
Right. The
as both
approach.
are.
Hmm.
One is from the other side, but he was human. Bashar is still from the other side,
Hmm.
coming through a human.
Right.
So every system is valid. When you study, I have long time compared the Southern Christian tradition, especially in an ethnic sense, the Black church and its role in the Deep South and how it kept everybody together and what it means and stuff. But that compares very little to other types of Christianity and other groups and what they're trying to do. Why? Because they're coming from a different space.
Hmm.
So you can't put one against the other. You have to get enough information about what you're studying to even see it clearly enough to compare it to something else. Problem is we go to church one Sunday and hear one sermon and then we want to apply it to everybody else's reading. Well, the Mormon said this and the Catholic said that and the so and so and they're all wrong and no, they're all absolutely right.
Hmm.
And how can I say that? Because that's what they incarnated to be a part of.
Hmm. Right.
It's the viewpoint they agreed to adopt.
Hmm.
And they're going to learn through that matrix. And all matrices are equally valid
Right.
because there's not one person on this planet that's not part of all that is. And so all it is learning through every one of us, no matter how bad we get, no matter how good we get. It matters not. It equally doesn't matter. Now, I have a big problem with that because there's some ideologies that I think are absolutely horrible and should be wiped out. That's not how all that is sees it. Every approach offers some information, further information about how can you come here and be a human.
Yeah. And that has been coming up to me this week too. And again, like you said, it's been almost like the shock and awe. It's like, oh, let's throw this at her and yeah, why do we have that? But that's a part of it too.
It is.
Yeah, yeah. And it's
How
hard.
you
It's hard for
react to
us.
that is part of the information you're gathering and sending a report on.
Right. So I'm
Well,
just
this is
trying to
how I handle it.
maybe all it is we'll figure out that we don't really like some of that. Stop.
No, it won't.
Now I know it because there's more people that do like it and
It
manifest
has nothing to do with whether people like it or not.
it. Mm,
It has everything to do with the fact that there's not one. way to be a human that won't be explored.
Mm-hmm.
And eons after eons, because there are so many of them, ways, then you get waves of those people who feel like this and those who feel like that. What happens when they meet and what happens if they don't? Everything that is possible will be.
Yeah.
There
Right.
is no possibility that won't be explored because that's the nature of all that is to explore its own potential.
Yeah.
And that means potential for either side of the equation.
Right. Right.
We have, we're prejudiced and only like the good stuff because we've labeled it good stuff.
Right.
But there is no such thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when Seth was saying, evil doesn't exist. Our attitude toward the things that do exist have been categorized into good and evil, but that's
Right.
on us.
Yes.
That's not how it
True.
is.
Very true.
God, that's hard to accept.
It is hard to accept. It is. It is. And that's probably the hardest thing Seth tried to teach.
Yes, yes,
And you just have to, and he used to really, complain about Rob and Jane because they actually looked for some of the darker things, some of the more, underbelly evil things. And and Seth would tell them, well, what do you expect? This is what you're looking for. That's what you're going to find.
yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah, so
just
this
have
is
to,
we get
don't
back
look
to
for that.
intention.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and I, for instance, what I was talking about earlier with the images, I kept examining myself, saying, why would you even program this? Why would you even agree to react to this? Let's get this out of
Mhm.
my view of reality.
Mhm.
I don't need that. Now, Bashar says when the bad stuff comes up, the only thing is it came up to get you used to knowing very clearly what you don't want.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay? You get to see, oh gosh, I don't want that. Oh, I don't want to see that. Oh, I don't want to do that. Oh, I don't want to hear that. Whatever. It's not gotten rid of just because it's good or bad. It's gotten
Mhm.
rid of because you look at it and say, okay, I want to change the now
Yeah.
or even the past. But and
Mhm.
both are malleable. You can
Sure.
change any of it,
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it's up to us. We have to be aware. Now, I'm saying have to because we agreed to be aware. We agreed to come here and find out about the stuff of awareness. We agreed to get together at a certain interval and talk about it and deal with it and aim ourselves at it.
Mhm.
Don't like it? Don't come. Stop looking at that.
Yeah.
Okay? But you asked us to show you what this view of reality is all about. And this is our view.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
handle
let
it.
I gotta tell you, I have a surprise for you. So
Uh-oh.
there's going to be an interesting view on our journey today.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I know. It's a good one. You'll love it. You'll love it. And I don't know that I want to let the cat out of the bag before I
Okay,
just
then
do it.
don't.
But I do want to say hi to Carol. Carol jumped in, so we have Audrey
Hi.
and
How
Carol
you
that I
doing,
have
sweetheart?
seen. And I don't know, do you think we're ready for this journey? It's going to be a lot of healing, a lot of healing.
Okay, we need that.
All right, well, why don't we go ahead and get ready? So everybody get in a nice comfortable spot. Mickey, you can turn your camera off. I'm going to turn mine off. And if you could mute yourself, that will be great. Bye. I'll be back in when this is all
It's
over.
usually after she finishes dealing with us. We have no idea what she's going to do to us. But
No, you don't. Here it comes, though. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. Okay, here we
okay.
go.
Quantum daisy pond meditation, quantum jump into a breathtaking universe of peace, relaxation, and rejuvenation. Make yourself comfortable, and we will begin with a 3 to 1 count. So close your eyes, take a deep breath, and while exhaling, mentally repeat and visualize the number 3 times. Take another deep breath, and while exhaling, mentally repeat and visualize the number 2 3 times. Take another deep breath, and while exhaling, mentally repeat and visualize the number 1 3 times. Relax. Relax your eyes, your lips, your jaw. Relax your head. Relax your neck. Relax your body, your arms and hands. Relax your legs and feet. You are now completely relaxed. Repeat mentally after me. Every day I improve my viewpoint towards myself. I am a unique human being. There's no one else on earth exactly like me. Every day I grow stronger in the direction of thought that I can. I can think. I can create. I can do. Relax. Imagine that you're standing at the top of a stairway. There are 15 steps leading to a small hallway. At the end of the hallway is a large door. The door's closed. On the other side of that door is one of the infinite universes in the superverse. The universe on the other side of that door contains a restorative planet, a place where all who know about it can refresh and restore their selves to health and vitality. The ultimate place of healing and restoration is the Daisy Pond, a beautiful pond in the middle of a forest of green, with trees, flowers, and birds and animals of every description, all friendly, all helpful. The Daisy Pond has mystical restorative waters. Lush vegetation is all around the pond, as well as all those friendly animals, colorful birds, and beautiful friendly fish. The sky is always blue here, and there are many white fluffy clouds lazily drifting overhead. In the center of the warm blue-green water, you'll see a large daisy. The daisy is large enough to lie in. When you project yourself into its center, you will imagine that you're lying in the center of a huge, soft daisy. The Daisy Pond is your creation and will be whatever you wish it to be. It can be your greatest place of relaxation from stressful conditions and the place to restore health. Relax. You're now going to walk down the 15 steps, a step at a time and slowly. You're at the top step. Imagine yourself stepping down to the 14th step, now the 13th, the 12th, 11th, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and now the bottom step, 1, and now you're in the hallway. Relax. Walk to the end of the hall facing the large door. The door is quite large, made of carved wood. It has a brass doorknob. The door opens outward. Reach out and touch the doorknob, and the door will slowly open. The door is opening, and now the door is open. When you step through the doorway, you'll be in the quantum world, the world of the Daisy Pond. Step through. And there in front of you is the pond, the Daisy Pond. Sense the blue-green waters. Sense the vegetation, the flowers, the trees, the friendly animals. Here and there you can imagine a lily pad floating on the surface. Around the daisy pond is lush vegetation, beautiful flowers. Focus your attention on the center of the pond. There in the center is the daisy, a magnificent, a huge daisy growing 10 feet high, perhaps 12 feet high. Whatever height you create will be the height of the daisy. I'm going to count from 1 to 3, and at the count of 3, you'll project yourself into the center of the comfortable, soft, fluffy daisy. 1, 2, 3. You are now in the daisy. It is comfortable. You are comfortable. You're very comfortable. Sense the blue sky, the occasional white cloud. Sit up and look around you. Sense the lush green vegetation. You may see a friendly animal, or 2 or more. Look at the pond, at the clear water. Ease yourself to the edge of the daisy. Now you're on one of the petals. At the count of 3, ease yourself off the petal and slide into the water. The warm, buoyant, magical waters of the daisy pond. Just ease yourself off the petal into the warm, magical waters, healthful waters of the daisy pond. 1, 2, 3. Off the daisy and float downwards into the mystical, restorative waters of the daisy pond. Down into the pond. You can swim in this water. It's your own private fountain of youth. Float and swim for a while. If you like, you may swallow some of the water. It has healthful qualities. It has cleansing qualities. Relax. The mystical water of the daisy pond can be mentally breathed. When you mentally take a breath of the water, imagine it cleansing your circulatory system. Imagine it cleansing and purifying your entire system. Now dive under the water, under the surface, and swim underwater. You can breathe this water. Swim to the bottom, and if you like, you may play with any fish you may see. All the fish are friendly. They're your imaginary fish, as beautiful as you wish them to be. Take a deep breath. Feel the water of the pond flow through your body. Feel the strength and energy enter your organs, the very cells of your body. You feel better and better. You feel marvelous as the water enters your system to cleanse and relax. You're totally relaxed as you swim under the water, the breathable, mystical water of the daisy pond. Now swim back to the surface, easily, gently, relax. You are now back at the surface. Float and swim for a while. I'm going to count from 1 to 3. At that moment, you will project yourself back onto the daisy. 1, 2, 3. You are now in the center of the daisy, the comfortable, soft daisy. Look in the distance. In the distance, you can see 3 mountain peaks. One of them is covered in snow. The highest one is the snow-covered peak. I'm going to count from 1 to 3, and at the count of 3, you will float up from the daisy, and just like Peter Pan, you too will fly. You will fly up, circle the daisy pond, and then fly towards the snow-covered mountain peak. Here in the land of the daisy pond, you have the ability to fly if you like. When you reach the snow-covered mountain, you may fly right up to the snow, and then you may ease yourself into it and play for a while. 1, 2, 3. Gently float up and up. And now circle and see the daisy pond from a different perspective. You're now looking down on the daisy pond. Now circle once more and fly towards the snow-covered peaks. As you fly, look down at the area below you. You'll see many exciting things, jungle and plains, different species of animals, all friendly. Everything in the land of the daisy pond is interesting and friendly. You're now approaching the mountain peak, closer and closer. You are now at the peaks. Fly over the peaks. If you like, let yourself down into the snow and play in the snow for a while. Now out of the snow once again, up, up, up. And now, once again, circle the mountain peaks. And then fly back towards the daisy pond, easily flying. You are now approaching the daisy pond. Closer, closer. Now you're directly over the daisy. Gently lower yourself onto the daisy until you're sitting on the surface. You're now back in the daisy. Relax. I'm going to count from 1 to 3, and at that moment you'll project yourself back to this dimension, back to this universe, back to the hallway at the bottom of the 15 steps. Relax. At the count of 3, you will project yourself back into the hallway at the bottom of the 15 steps. 1, 2, 3. We're now in the hallway. The door to the daisy pond is closing. The door is closed. Now walk slowly up the steps. You're at the bottom step. Now the second, the third, the fourth, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and now you're at the top of the stairway, 15. Relax. Repeat mentally every day in every way. I am getting better and better. I feel better and better. I see the good in myself. I have a positive viewpoint toward myself. Every organ in my body is restoring itself to the best of health. Relax. In a moment, I'm going to count from 1 to 3. At that moment, you'll open your eyes. You'll be wide awake, feeling fine, in perfect health, feeling better than before. 1, 2, coming out slowly now. The count to 3, you'll open your eyes, be wide awake, feeling fine, feeling better than before. 3, eyes open, wide awake, feeling fine, in perfect health, feeling better than before.
So that was Bert Goldman. And I do his meditation so often. And the Daisy Pond, Bert has always said that it was free for everyone. So I felt okay with transmitting that one. If you would like to hear or see other Bert Goldman meditations, you can find some of them on YouTube. You can find others on Mind Valley. He does, I own 4 different modules of his teachings, but what an amazing teacher he was. Surprise!
I was so shocked.
How do you feel?
That was lovely.
Is it? Yeah, I loved it too.
I appreciated that. That was a wonderful surprise.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be a good surprise.
Cheeky little thing.
Audrey said, I loved it. I'm so
Mhm.
happy. And that's just one of his meditations. He teaches so many different things, but that's where the quantum jumping came from, the meditation room, the lab, that's it's all a Bert Goldman thought process. You know, I've embellished on it somewhat. I try not to be exact, but you know, every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. I love that.
Yeah, that's a French guy called Coué.
Dr. Yeah, Emile Coué, yes. But Bert wrote a book called Better and Better. Uh,
Hmm. A lot of folks have really expanded on that whole idea. Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. He was from Nancy, France, I do believe. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So again, Bert in his first trainings, he talks all about that and how he learned about different things. So he actually had a woman in his class that met Emile Coué.
Oh,
And
wow.
I could tell you the story. The story is she was in Dr. Coué's class, which he held outside under a tree. And she says, "Oh, but that's wonderful, but I really want to meet the man of my dreams, and why doesn't it work for that?" And he says, "Oh, my dear, of course it can." And he gave her a rope, and it had 12 knots in it. And he said, "Every day, I want you to say on that knot, every day, in every way, the love of my life is getting closer and closer."
Mm,
So 12
wow.
times a day, she was to do that. And she was coming back to America on a big boat, right? I guess before airplane time. And when she finally arrived in America, her family was there waiting to greet the ship. And there was a young man there that she didn't know. And he just had never seen a big ship like that. And he ended up being her husband.
Oh, wow. That's so
And
cool.
and she came to one of Bert's class to tell him that story
That is
and
nice.
how it works. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I
I,
can relate to that. Yeah.
I love his teachings.
Yeah.
And his
Similar.
and he
It's
tells a
great.
story with almost every single module that he does. So
Uh-huh.
you get to know a lot of background story, and but that's one of the stories that I really, really like.
Wow, that's great. I can really relate to that.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you know what? I've done that. And it's not unlike mala beads, right? I mean, or rosary beads. Like how many
Yeah.
religions
Exactly.
use that same thought
Yes, they
process?
do. They do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Some of those
anyway,
people,
this was kind of a treat for you and a treat for me because I didn't have to plan anything.
well, it's also, I kept thinking to myself, at least you'll get a chance to do it with us.
And I
So,
did. And I
yeah.
did. And you know what? I have done this meditation so many times. I can't even begin to tell you how many times. 100. I have never landed in the snow.
Yeah. No, no.
I did not play in the snow. I stayed and I flew in the sunshine.
Yeah. Yeah. That is just lovely. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
just,
Little zoomy. It stays with you so much.
it does. It does. And the beauty is you can do this. I've said this time and time again, and I know Mickey and I do it, but you guys can go to your quantum world anytime you want.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm real comfortable going to the quantum world.
I am too. And the more you do it, the quicker you can actually get there and the more effective it really is. However, doing his, like I remember doing them and it was probably, I don't know, 12 years ago or so. And it was really the first guided meditation I had run across after I learned Reiki. So there were some meditations that in Reiki class we did, and I didn't realize that a doppelganger was. I mean, I know he says that it's another you, but it did not connect to me the whole Seth part of probable selves.
Yeah.
And all these little teachings I got from Bert and from Reiki and from all these different people, Seth brought it all together and I'm like, oh, I get it now. Um, they're coming full circle. And again, it's love and take care of yourself. This is the fountain of youth. It's where to go to get healing. And you guys can go there. This is going to be on YouTube. I mean, it's on YouTube now.
Right.
So Bert didn't give permission to do any of his stuff, but he did give permission to the Daisy Pond.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's a very profound meditation. I love it.
hmm And some of them that you can find are like his original ones, and the music is
Hmm.
different in the original ones. This one was done later in his life, and I do believe he passed away in 2020. He did not have COVID, but he was what was he in his 90s, 92,
Yeah, he
93.
was.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What a
Yeah.
number.
I totally feel restored right now. Like still a little kind of floaty, but
Yeah,
I feel wonderful.
I feel good. That's great. I needed that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was such a surprise.
I knew it was gonna be. And I wish I had one with him saying the words, but that was the cover of his CD.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I
And
just need you to just stay awake and stare at him.
he's
So,
a darn handsome man.
you know, you
Yeah.
know,
So you can find him. They used to call him the American monk. So you can
right,
find American monk, you can find Burt Goldman, but you can find all of these on Mind Valley.
right.
I love it.
Amazing.
I was so happy to give this to you as I
Yeah.
just, yeah.
That is such a surprise.
I loved it too. I loved
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Well, I think it's probably time to wind this down.
Yeah,
Um,
it'd be so interesting to hear how other people reacted to it, you
Yeah,
know.
well, Audrey said she loved it. That was good enough for me right
Right.
there. Now, full moon is actually at like a little after noon on Monday. So we're a little bit early because Kate's life is crazy busy. I had to clear something so that I could be here today for you guys.
Yeah.
So, Monday is when full moon will actually be. So set your crystals out, and expect the beautiful uh, things that you've been manifesting for
Yeah.
all of these months to just come for you.
On this side of the ocean, it's not until, excuse me, a couple of minutes to 6 in the evening.
Oh, there you go. Yes. I forget about that. I'm sorry. Yes. Carol said she went pretty deep.
I did, yeah.
Carol did too.
It was
Loved it.
very interesting.
Yeah. He's got an amazing voice.
Mm-hmm.
And funny because yesterday uh um oh my gosh, what's her name? Dolores Cannon meditation came up. And I'm like, wait a minute, I've done that one before, like with you guys. And I
Mm-hmm.
guess I didn't even realize it was hers. But it was the one where you walk through the mist and you come out of the mist and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so these meditations have been coming to me, and it feels like we're supposed to be sharing them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I love this one.
There are so many different approaches. That's why I say folks have
Yeah.
a whole bunch of choices as to how you want to work with what you've created. You find yourself here as you,
Hmm.
and you have to really take the time to find out who is that? What do I need? What do I want?
Hmm.
And then go for it.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So take a deep breath. Love yourselves. I love all of you.
Yeah. And just allow Jupiter to bring some good into all of whatever you're going through. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Remember, he's the spirit of Santa Claus, so he brings stuff. Hopefully, good stuff.
He brings you gifts. Well, even coal is good nowadays.
Yeah, right?
Ah. Oh, I love you all. We will see you in about 2 more weeks for the new moon, people. All right. I will get this put
Good.
up so that the meditation is there. You'll be able to do it on the full moon.
Right. Enjoy yourself,
Love you
folks.
all.
Love you.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.